What's up, everyone? It's Brian from the Exact IT Solutions and Cybersecurity YouTube channel. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to get right into the big thing that's being talked about right now, and this is these threats or cyber attacks against water systems and water treatment systems across the U.S. The Biden administration is warning governors in all 50 states that they need to put action plans in place to start securing these facilities better from cyber criminals because they're being attacked by Iran, by China, by Russia, and it's becoming a huge concern for the White House, and they don't just get concerned about these things for no reason. There's been a lot of talk about it in the last 3 or 4 months, but it's really ramped up in the last week or so, and it's a huge concern for this government, and I'm going to get into why that is in this video today. So the Biden administration has reached out to all governors in all 50 states to warn governors about the pervasive cyber attacks targeting water and wastewater systems across the United States. The White House is stressing urgency. They are involving the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, trying to get them to help these entities improve their cyber defenses. So first off, let's talk about what happened and why is our government, our federal government, so concerned, and why are they going about it in this manner? Well, let's talk about the Municipal Water Authority of Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, where they were just infiltrated by Iranian hackers targeting an industrial control device made by an Israeli company. And this industrial control device made by this Israeli company seems to be the common theme that keeps coming up with these wastewater systems. However, we also see that we not only have Iranian-backed hackers doing this, we also know that there's Chinese-backed hackers doing this. This raises the level of concern that our government has around a coordinated cyber attack on our critical infrastructure in our country, our water supply system, and our wastewater treatment systems. These foreign governments who are attacking these systems know how to do it. They can do it. They're successful with it. And the bigger concern that our federal government has right now is that if we end up in some kind of bigger conflict with any of these nations, the government knows how easy it is for these systems to be hacked. The White House has come out and said that most of these water systems lack basic cybersecurity precautions and they have significant risks, especially when it comes to disruptive attack. It's giving the impression that the Biden administration is now putting all hands on deck to get this problem taken care of, or to at least try to get ahead of it. But I'm going to get into why this is probably a plan that's too little too late. And we're in a lot of trouble when it comes to these particular entities and what could potentially happen with them. From everything that I've read, our federal government is telling this industry that your cybersecurity protections are a joke. You're going to get hacked like crazy, so we're going to try to help by providing you with federal resources from the Department of Homeland Security, from the EPA, and from other federal agencies to try to quickly shore these systems up and get them protected as quickly as possible. I can tell you, when you go about cybersecurity in this manner, it's a really, really, really long and hard uphill battle to fight. Doing it quickly just isn't a thing. You can start today, but it's still going to take you a while, and the clock is ticking. Time is against you. These cyber criminals know that they can break into these systems quickly, and they can do a lot of damage when they get into them. That is why this is such a big deal for our federal government, and why our governors in all 50 states have been alerted, because not only do we need the resources of the federal government, but we also need the resources of state and local governments to take care of these problems. So what's our government doing? Our government has basically tasked the EPA to go across the country and identify facilities that are the most vulnerable or the most likely to get hacked, and then use other resources across the federal government, say maybe Department of Homeland Security or CISA, in order to get rid of these vulnerabilities or figure out the best way to deal with these vulnerabilities. In a sense, it is somewhat of a proactive approach to try to get ahead of this as quickly as possible, because we know that the current state of things in the water treatment world or the water supply world is not good at all. It's basically like they don't even do the basics when it comes to cybersecurity. Here's why I think this is a bigger uphill challenge for our government, and I'm going to just say that this problem doesn't just exist here in this world. This is just the spotlight is on them because the hackers have their sights set on these entities. Hackers have their sights set, whether they're private cyber criminals or nation state sponsored hackers. Every one of these groups has their sights set on a specific target, whether that be Lockbit in the healthcare world, where they're private cyber criminals who are targeting the healthcare industry like crazy. These groups, these nation-state-backed groups, are going after critical infrastructure and things like water facilities, power plants, you name it. If it has to do with our grid and providing utilities, these state-sponsored governments are going after it and learning from each and every attempt to attack to use those not only to cause disruption in our country and cause discourse, but potentially use them in some kind of bigger conflict down the road. And why do I say that this is such a massive, long, uphill battle? Because do you know how many water treatment facilities or water supply facilities there are in the United States? Well, if you don't, I'm going to let you know. There's 150,000 roughly of these facilities around the country that need to be assessed, and they need to figure out who could potentially be hacked next and try to get those systems shored up before they actually become a victim. And the Biden administration, while they're giving these entities resources, they're also trying to combat this with regulation and some support for new cyber defense technologies. However, when the rubber meets the road and these facilities look at their budget or they look at their financials and they see that they don't have the money to deal with these challenges, they then go and file lawsuits against our government to prevent our feds or our White House or the Department of Justice from enforcing any action or doing anything adverse against these companies for not meeting these minimum cybersecurity requirements. It's kind of like business as usual. Yeah, we know we have this threat, but we don't want to really do anything about it because we don't have the money. That attitude needs to change. So in my opinion, there's only one way out of this problem. Yeah, we're going to have to dump a bunch of money into it. We're going to have to use taxpayer funded money to give to these entities because they basically are willing to hire lawyers and go to court against our own government to fight these new regulations that, quite frankly, they need to be putting in. It's their fault for not adjusting their business model for this increased expense that was coming their way. It's not like you haven't been told for the last decade that you need to do this. The companies just had their fingers in their ears like, la, 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 we don't hear anything. Well, it's here. It has come. It's at your front door. And this goes for private businesses as well. These threats and these cyber criminals are knocking on your front door, and they are going to bust in one day and hit you in the face with a cyber attack or a data breach, and you're not going to know what to do when it happens because you haven't been paying attention. And that's 80 to 90% of the government entities and businesses in this country that face this problem. Very, very few companies or very, very few entities are dealing with this problem. And now you have this big knee-jerk reaction by our government getting everybody from top to bottom to get involved in dealing with this problem and force these water treatment facility companies to do the right thing. If you don't think that this is going to happen in your industry, you're severely mistaken. I'm talking about cyber attacks potentially against major critical infrastructure that provides and treats water in this country. And water is a basic human need. From the beginning of most people's lifetimes in the United States, you're used to walking over to a faucet, turning it on, and getting clean drinking water out. And that is now in jeopardy because of these cyber criminals who've decided to set their sights on these systems, combined with the fact that our government and the people running these facilities did not take this threat seriously until now. So this could impact millions of Americans. Maybe we'll get ahead of it and maybe this won't be that much of a problem, but I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that that's not going to be the case because our government wouldn't be this freaked out and this panicked. That were going to be the end result. There's going to be some issues around this, and hopefully they're not too widespread. And this is a perfect illustration of why cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. Private businesses need to do their part. Governments need to do their part. There has to be a cooperation among private and public entities in order to combat this problem. I think a lot of private businesses out there think the government's going to come along and do something, or this isn't really that big of a threat. So hopefully you're taking these signs, these threats against the United States water system as a sign that one day your business could be in the crosshairs of cyber criminals, just like transportation is right now for one ransomware group. Another ransomware group is on to the healthcare sector. Another ransomware group likes to hit K-12 schools. Another ransomware group likes to hit manufacturing companies. There's basically a ransomware group for every type of business that's out there today, whether you're government or private business. There's some group out there that's targeting you, learning about you, learning where your weaknesses are. Most likely, if they can find one weakness in one entity, they can find that same weakness somewhere else. And now you've just made spreading this stuff and attacking that industry infinitely easier. I'm sorry I didn't come with any good news today. This is really, really bleak information that I'm bringing to you on the channel today. Things are getting serious out there, folks. If you need help with any of this stuff, there's links in the description below. We help companies protect themselves from these cyber criminals and these nation state hackers. We'd love to help you. So check out the links down below, learn more about my company, Exact IT. See you in the next video. Take care.